Good afternoon. Today we have a match from the THIULDT Inter-University Law Debate Tournament between two teams who are starting the competition today. They are in the group G of the group phase. We have on one side the Tilburg University in the Netherlands and we have the University of Brighton in the United Kingdom. They will be debating in this day one match on a topic they received a week ago by email. Of course, before starting the match, we have some elements we do every time. It's to know the debaters themselves. They will introduce themselves, and after we'll remind the topic they received, and then allocation. So I will start giving the floor to Mr. Badika in Brighton. Welcome.
Hello, welcome to everyone. I am so happy to be here and to debate against you all. And I can't wait to start. My name is Peter Badika. I come from University of Brighton. I study law, and I'm looking forward to this.
Thank you. Welcome. And we have in Tilburg Mr. Theo Billeter. Welcome.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Theo Billeter, and yeah, I'll be representing Tilburg University here today, and I look forward to the debate.
Thank you. We have as well in Brighton Mr. Cameron Hall. Welcome.
Hi, very nice to meet everyone. My name's Cameron, representing University of Brighton, and I also study law.
Thank you, welcome. And we have as well Miss Dora Babic in Tilburg University.
Yeah, hello everyone. I'm Dora Babic. I'm from Tilburg, and yeah, I'm excited for the debate.
Welcome. And third member for the University of Brighton, Mr. Thomas Meyers. Welcome.
Hello. Well, I'm Thomas Atticus Mears. I'm also at University of Brighton. Happy to be representing them in this debate. Looking forward to it.
Thank you, welcome. Third member of Tilburg University, Bartosz Kutima. Welcome.
Hi, everyone. Very happy to be here. I'm Bartosz, and well, good luck, everyone.
Welcome, and we send greetings as well to the coach who are maybe watching the match live. So on the side of Tilburg University, actually one coach is in the room. Mr. Ristov, welcome.
Hello, welcome y'all. Glad to be here, and good luck to both teams.
Thank you. Mr. Ristov was participant last year, his coach this year, with Miss Boykova for the team from Tilburg University. And on the side of the University of Brighton, we send greetings as well to Professor Aurelian Beauclerc-Evans, and as well Isilai Taban McCaid, so the two coach for the team this year from Brighton. So the topic which was sent last week, so 7 days ago, to both teams by email was regulatory experimentation must remain consistent with international obligations in integrated market. So now we'll do the allocation of the position. As you can see, there is a wheel, the randomizer with two positions, in favor and against for each team. The team will be in favor, will be starting the position. So now my colleague will activate the randomizing. So for this match, that will be the University of Brighton will be in favor of the motion. As a consequence, that will be Tilburg University will be against the motion. So concretely, it means that the University of Brighton will defend the position that regulatory experimentation must remain consistent with international obligations in integrated markets. On the other side, Tilburg University will defend the position that regulatory experimentation must not remain consistent with international obligations in integrated markets. So now you will have 5 minutes to review your notes, and then we'll hear the introduction by Brighton. You may close your mic and camera in the meanwhile.
Thank you, everyone. Your time for final preparation is now concluded. We'll be starting by hearing the opening statement for the in favor position. On that note, University of Brighton debate team, you now have the floor for minutes.
Great. Thank you very much. We are on the affirmative side, and I'd like to start off with an analogy. Imagine you're an investor with £50 million. You can invest in France, a stable EU market with rule of law, or you can invest in a country experimenting with, say, judicial independence. Where does your money go? Well, the answer is obvious, and that's why tonight's motion matters. The motion is regulatory experimentation must remain consistent with international obligations in integrated markets. Now, we're not saying countries can't experiment. We're saying that when they do, they must respect commitments to their trading partners. Integrated markets like the EU, ASEAN, USMCA, they have obligations through trade deals and regional agreements. So can countries experiment while respecting those obligations? Absolutely, and they must, because breaking these obligations harms the integration that makes these regions work. Now, I'll be presenting 3 arguments in favor. The first, that integration creates vulnerability. The second, that countries can experiment but within the bounds. And the third, that the alternative is a disaster. First argument, that integration creates vulnerability. Now, the fundamental reality about integrated markets is that when you're deeply connected economically, one country's regulatory chaos becomes everyone's problem. Poland is the perfect case study. From 2015 to 2023, Poland weakened judicial independence, violating EU obligations under Article 2 of the Treaty of the European Union. Courts are how investors resolve disputes, so a weakened judicial system creates investment problems. And what happened? Well, investors panicked about legal predictability. Confidence in Polish markets dropped. Other EU countries worried about contagion. If Polish courts aren't independent, can I trust contracts involving Polish companies? The answer is no. The damage wasn't just Poland's problem. It rippled across the entire EU. And why? Because in an integrated market, you depend on other countries respecting their commitments. If, say, Germany weakens labor protections, that affects French workers competing for jobs. If Italy abandons environmental standards, that affects air quality across southern Europe. Obligations are not arbitrary. They're agreements that say we will maintain the rules so that you can trust operating here. Now, the negative may try to flip this. They may say that Poland violated obligations for 8 years and nothing happens, and that is proof that obligations don't work. But that is actually an example of weak enforcement, not failed obligations. You don't abandon speed limits because some people speed. You strengthen enforcement. The regulatory experimentation that breaks those obligations isn't protest, it's actually sabotage. My second argument is that countries can experiment, but within the bounds. Here's where the negative may try to convince you that experimentation requires breaking free from obligations, and our position is that this is false. The best examples of regulatory innovation happen within obligation frameworks. We'll look at Singapore's fintech sandbox. Singapore is bound by ASEAN investments and service obligations. Instead of breaking those rules, Singapore created a structured experimentation framework, time-limited testing, and clear evaluation metrics. It was reversible. If the test failed, they'd go back to full compliance. And again, what happened? Other countries watched, and when it worked, over 50 jurisdictions copied it. And why again? Because they saw it succeeded within a proper framework. And the same applies to Germany's renewable energy transition. Germany is bound by the EU energy directives and climate commitments, but Germany didn't break those obligations. It innovated within them, restructuring how it meets climate targets through a different energy mix. Or the Netherlands is another good example, with energy marketplaces. They got temporary exemptions negotiated with the EU, so again, not breaking EU laws. Now, the negative may say that Singapore had a negotiable exemptions, and that proves obligation constraints and constrains innovation. And this is again false. Negotiation is the partnership working. If obligations didn't matter, why would companies care about being in integrated markets? Switzerland doesn't need EU permissions for anything, yet it deliberately uses EU framework because predictability enables business, it doesn't constrain it. The key insight from this is that experiment doesn't require breaking obligations. Successful experimentation requires structure, monitoring, and reversibility. Countries that do that get results. Tonight, we will show experimentation and obligations.
Your speaking time is now concluded. We'll now pass the floor to the Tilburg University for the opening statement in the against position. You have 4 minutes.
Thank you. I'm starting my speech in 3, 2, 1. Honorable judges and esteemed proposition, the international obligations underpinning integrated markets, whether it's WTO, disciplines, or bilateral investment treaties, were drafted in the 1990s. And that was for a world of physical goods and conventional services. They have nothing to say about algorithmic bias, platform dominance, or how we should govern artificial intelligence, for example. The proposition asks you to accept that experimentation must remain consistent with these obligations. We say that it's paralysis and oppose the motion on two grounds. First is that experimentation is crucial for legal evolution, and second is that strict compliance leads to obsolete regulations. Firstly, experimentation beyond existing obligations is how law evolves. The honorable proposition wants you to believe these obligations are complete, that all that remains is compliance. But history of every integrated market tells you otherwise. The rules improve when states are willing to challenge them. It's that simple. The GDPR is the defining example. When the EU adopted it in 2016, no international treaty required that level of data protection. The prevailing global approach was light touch, industry-led self-regulation. The GDPR was, by any measure, a regulatory experiment. It completely exceeded existing international obligations. And the result was not fragmentation, it was actually convergence. Over 160 countries have since adopted data protection laws modeled on GDPR or at least influenced by it. That legal evolution would not have occurred under the Honorable Propositions model. If the EU had confined itself to what existing obligations permitted, the world would still be operating under a patchwork of inadequate self-regulatory frameworks. And we can also apply the same logic elsewhere. For example, the UK's FCA FinTech Sandbox, launched in 2016, with deliberate, bounded deviation from existing licensing rules, saw 90% of first cohort firms reach market launch and participants attract 6.6 times more investment. Over 50 jurisdictions have adopted the same model since. There's also another dimension here. The international trade and investment system was largely written by advanced economies. If we insist on strict consistency with those rules, we limit the policy space of developing countries that have little real say in creating them. And that way, we lock in the advantage of those who set the terms. Having established that, let me now demonstrate that the compliance does not produce good regulation, it produces obsolescence. The Honorable Propositions assumes that regulating within existing obligations produces sound policy. But let's take a look at just one example, the EU's AI Act, which demonstrates the complete opposite. The regulation was designed in strict conformity with internal market obligations. So we're talking about fundamental rights frameworks and data protection rules. It followed the proposition's logic to the letter. And the result is a framework that reflects AI landscape of 2023. Before the explosion of foundation models, before the current wave of autonomous agents, and also before the competitive dynamics that now define the sector. And simply the numbers are very clear on this. According to the Stanford 2025 AI Index, private AI investment in the United States reached $108 billion in 2024, while the EU attracted roughly $8 billion. And the US produced 40 notable AI models that year. In Europe, unfortunately, only produced 3. Lastly, the most telling indicator, the European Commission has already begun revising its own framework. In November 2025, it proposed targeted amendments to the AI Act through a digital simplification package and withdrew the AI Liability Directive entirely. That suggests a strictly obligation-consistent approach resulted in rules that were way too rigid for the technology they were meant to regulate. To conclude, honorable judges, we're not asking you to endorse non-compliance. We are asking you, though, to recognize that compliance with outdated rules is simply a constraint that benefits no one, which is why we urge you to reject the motion. Thank you.
Thank you. We have now heard the opening statements. Starting the rebuttals. University of Brighton, you have 2 minutes for yours.
Thank you. First of all, I like to say that I believe the opposition has not understood exactly what an integrated market is. The United States is, as an integrated market, way different than the European Union, and ASEAN is arguably closer to the European Union than the United States is as an integrated market to the European Union. Second of all, in integrated markets are designed themselves to allow regulatory experimentation. There is no need to go beyond them. Essentially, what integrated markets do is set a stable ground from which all the framework of states can go. They can pursue their own type of regulatory experimentation and respect the boundaries they have signed up to. If one of the states would not do that, the respective state would be kicked out. Now, the single market itself depends on uniform application. The European Union as a single market requires the free movement of goods, services, capital, and labor, if states were experiment inconsistently with the boundaries, boundaries of the integrated market itself of the European Union, then barriers would reemerge, regulatory fragmentation would increase costs, and mutual recognition would collapse. This essentially would mean that the deviation of one state would create barriers, trade barriers, for everyone else. I think we should also have the crisis argument for the European Union, the Eurozone, and the COVID. We should say that flexibility here during COVID came through legal channels and through the time when everyone respected the international boundaries, not at all did regulatory experimentation outside of them. Now, this was done through formal legal mechanism, collective agreements, and temporary framework. That proves that the system allows flexibility within obligations and not outside them. Reform is legitimate, unilateral disregard is not.
Thank you. We'll now hear the first rebuttal in the against position. Tilburg University, you have 2 minutes.
Thank you. Honorable judges and esteemed opposition. We would like to first make a point about what regulatory experiments actually are. Regulatory experiments are limited in their scope, in their duration, and in their application. They are simply sandboxes, regulatory sandboxes, where a specific market or a specific amount of firms are allowed to operate with relaxed regulations. Constraining this market to simply constraining countries or firms to what they're bounded by internationally can produce regulatory freezes, whereby law lags behind what is actually the reality of the situation, the realities of the markets. The world did not have AI or have climate change 80 years ago, yet we're still bound by the same obligations that we were 80 years ago, and this is a problem. If we use regulatory experiments with a limited scope, we can test out rules that might slightly violate or slightly go beyond what international obligations allow. But since they have such limited scope, since they have such limited application, they are not going to have a large effect on the market. Therefore, we can reform the law, which lags behind. And this is extremely important, as if you look at the AI Act, the EU tried to implement an act which is in conformity with every single international obligation they had. However, they implemented this, and there's big problems with the AI Act, that it doesn't reflect the actual market realities. And as my co-counsel pointed out before, the AI Act constrains firms within the EU so majorly that they are not able to keep up with firms in the United States or in the UK or in Singapore, for example. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now hear the second rebuttal for the in favor position. You have 2 minutes.
Esteemed judges and esteemed opposition, this House believes that you can combine Indonesia's industrial policy with Vietnam's desire for AI development and surveillance, and Singapore's desire for innovation as specific types of regulatory experimentation, and bind it all together within the obligations of ASEAN. You do not need to destroy or reform something that is not broken. It is not necessary. Flexibility does not mean disregard for commitments in themselves. ASEAN's flexibility exists within agreed frameworks, and if commitments can be ignored whenever inconvenient, then they are meaningless and they should never have been done in the first place. We are talking about commitments and charters signed by states with their national interests, and knowing that they are going to pursue their own agendas as well. However, they signed up to a specific level which they agreed to meet, and then they can also develop their own needs regardless of what the other state thinks. But when they meet again together at the table, for example, for ASEAN, each one has something to offer, and it means that inherently affects positively the neighbor states. Now, Indonesia's industrial policy, for example, is necessary for development. Development in Indonesia is valid, but not unilateral deviation. It does not disrupt regional supply chains, and it does not harm ASEAN's producer reliant on inputs. It creates perfect gradual timelines, coordinated exemptions, and negotiated carve-outs. Vietnam's pursuit of AI and international surveillance is what European Union's AI failed to do. Fine, but we have a probable integrated market that has achieved that just fine. So sovereignty without obligation benefits the powerful, but not the vulnerable.
Thank you. We will now hear the second rebuttal in the against position. You have 2 minutes.
Thank you. Honorable judges and esteemed opposition, we'd first like to address the fact that the powerful states are going to benefit more than the states that are weaker in the markets. Firstly, when you have a regulatory experimentation, it is placed in a local market. For example, if we take the EU as an example, if you have Romania, for example, the EU on its large scale implements a regulatory sandbox in Romania, for example, for a certain number of firms to see whether in Romania that market can benefit by relaxed regulation. And then that can be applied EU-wide. And this is the reality of the situation nowadays. Of course, you can look at single states, but we're talking about integrated markets here. And in an integrated market like the EU that operates on one basis, you can have states that are weaker or states that are stronger implement those regulatory sandboxes, but then the EU on its wider scope implements those agreements. Furthermore, we would also like to address that when you have international obligations that over-constrain firms and over-constrain countries, they are not going to lead to development. Again, we'd like to make this point very clear, because when you have international obligations that put such a strict limit and such a strict obligation on firms that they cannot develop their markets, and those international obligations come from 80 years ago or 50 years ago, this creates lags within the market, and they cannot keep up with the realities of the world right now. And this is what we need. Otherwise, you're going to lag behind. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now hear the concluding statements, starting with the University of Brighton. You have 2 minutes.
Thank you. I'd like to start by restating the motion, which is that regulatory experimentation must remain consistent with international obligations in integrated markets. And tonight, I believe we've proven it. The example that our opponents have given, their entire case rests on seemingly one claim: the EU's AI Act kills innovation. But the AI Act doesn't ban experimentation, it enables it through sandboxes, temporary exemptions, monitored testing, exactly what works. Companies aren't fleeing obligations. There are no examples of this that my opponents can bring up. OpenAI, Google, Meta all comply and innovate within the framework. Their one example proves our point, actually. The structure enables innovation, it doesn't constrain it. I'd like to bring up another point, that chaos without obligations, or there's chaos without obligations. If countries abandon, to use their example, the AI obligations to experiment freely, what happens? Each creates their own rules, there's no standards, no interoperability, no trust, investment collapses because companies can't operate across borders. That's what the negative is selling: competitive chaos dressed as freedom. The negative valiantly argued their position without evidence. They can't show one case where abandoning obligations worked better than structured experimentation within them. Singapore fintech succeeded with ASEAN, Germany's renewables succeeded with the EU, the AI Act, companies innovating within obligations. They have zero examples, just ideology versus evidence. Here's what judges need to understand. This isn't about whether obligations are perfect, it's about what actually works. Every successful innovation in integrated markets happened within frameworks. Every attempt to escape obligations creates chaos. The negative offers no counter evidence, just a gamble that chaos beats structure. Obligations enable innovation. Breaking them destroys integration. Regulatory experimentation must remain consistent with international obligations, and we confirm the motion. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We'll now hear the concluding statements by the debaters of Tilburg University. You have 2 minutes.
Okay, I will start in 3, 2, 1. Honorable judges, throughout this debate, we have demonstrated that regulatory experimentation must not be constrained by outdated international obligations. This is about protection when consensus fails, and protection against the tyranny of the status quo. Now, our opponents invoke flawed economic reason, but their biggest mistake is that they assume that the obligations are adequate in the first place. When international obligations fail because they are outdated and the consensus is paralyzed, It condemns billions of people to suffer under those inadequate protections. Now, our opponents ask you to enshrine stagnation, while we ask you to enable progress. As my teammates have already demonstrated, experimentation beyond existing obligations is how law evolves. Compliance does not produce good regulation, it produces obsolescence. So we stand before a choice: people or outdated procedures. Now, our opponents claim that the experimentation would produce inequality, but they don't show any reason why this would exactly happen, as we've already countered this argument with the AI example. Also, they claim that those obligations would disappear, but our whole point is that they would upgrade through experimentation as other countries would adapt their legislation to this legislation that works. So their vision is basically to wait for consensus, even when it fails for decades, protect producers, protect the procedures over people. But our vision is to experiment, to protect people over procedures, to secure innovation in the legal obligations. So when international obligations are inadequate, experimentation creates superior protections and enables voluntarily global compliance and global adoption. And it is not the violation of the whole legal order. It is its salvation. So progress requires courage to experiment when procedures fail. Human dignity demands that we choose people over paralysis. So we ask you to reject the motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Well done for your first debate match. Congratulations. You can all relax now. You're no longer graded after this part. I will be passing the floor to Professor Lohange for the feedback and to the wrap-up of the debate session.
Yes, so now you are not under evaluation, so you can relax, and now it is time to hear your impression on this topic, on the match itself, and your first performance. And afterwards we'll be doing a bit of networking. So we'll give the floor to each of you, and you can tell me briefly, your impression, if you have seen as well this topic during your studies, or you have studied a bit this. So we start with Mr. THIULDT. What did you think about the match and the topic and the preparation itself?
I think the match was good. I mean, the structure is very clear, and it's very clear what we have to do. The prompt, at first it was a bit difficult to kind of grasp what it actually meant, because it had so many different elements in it, and I thought it was a bit unclear the way it was phrased at first. But then after you kind of understand it, it gets a bit easier. But I think maybe if it was a bit more, maybe there were too many elements to tackle in such a short debating time. Yeah, that's kind of the only feedback that I would have on that.
Yeah, thank you. Mr. Badika, same question.
Thank you for giving me the word. I think this motion was quite challenging in terms of what it actually meant. We spent some time to identify the terms exactly, what, for example, regulatory experimentation means. And we actually spent time debating whether it means to adhere within the obligations of the integrated market itself or international law. And eventually we just stuck with the obligations of the international market itself.
Thank you. And Ms. Babic, what do you think about the match and its preparation, the topic?
Well, first, thank you everybody for a great debate. Well, when I first saw the motion, I agree. I was also a little bit confused. It's very, very specific. And also there's so much to tackle. So I would agree with Theo. We could have debated about this for a longer time and then looked at it from multiple angles. But yeah, overall, I think once you get into it, it's a bit better, yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Hall. What did you think about the match and debate preparation?
Overall, I think we all went down the same rabbit hole of actually trying to figure out what the motion meant, and that just led to a lot of arguments amongst ourselves in terms of trying to do the experimental debates and going down rabbit holes that we realized we didn't need to go down into. But then after some good research, we were able to actually come back to the base and be able to argue our point very well. So yeah, it was a very good, very interesting point.
Thank you. Mr. Kutima?
Well, thank you. Well, I guess I like the motion too. So economics focused, you could say. So that was something that we were focused on before, like sort of the initial thoughts. So yeah, quite happy with that.
Thank you. And Mr. Meyers? We don't hear you. Yeah, we
Also-
Don't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, now we can hear you.
Sorry about that. Yeah, we same as my teammates. I haven't studied. We're in our first year of law here, and so I haven't done economics either. So there's a lot of background learning, even just to understand the motion itself. We found ourselves pretty quickly arguing about what actually was an integrated market rather than debate itself, and so we had to kind of set up some guidelines about what we're actually going to talk about and not.
Okay, thank you. Just as well for you to know in general, and not just for that match, when you will get a topic, don't hesitate during the 7 days to ask for clarification. It's something which is in the rules. You can ask for clarification to the mailbox, to the email address from where you received the topic. And on our side, we have a team who can send you clarification as well to the other team. So we send to the email, the reply to both teams when we get a request for clarification. It's something to have in mind for the rest of the competition as well for all the teams. And now it's time to do a bit of networking, to know a bit more about you, because it's the start of the competition for you. Of course, at the end of each match as well, we'll know a bit more as well on some aspect of your studies and your university. I will have two questions. The first question is about why did you decide to present your university? What was the motivation, as well as the selection or nomination process, and what does it mean for you to present your law school? So concretely, I will start with Mr. Meyers. Mr. Meyers, and as well the others, you can as well complete the answer of your team. Huh? So we start with Brighton concretely.
I'm sorry, sir. Thomas is trying to reopen his computer right now, but
You can
could you
start.
repeat the question one more time, if I may?
Yes.
If you don't mind, I'm really sorry about that.
No worry. So what motivated you to represent your university in this competition? Why did you accept, and how was it the nomination selection process?
All right, I will answer then. For me, personally, I've always had a strong sense of justice and a strong desire to debate and argue for the things I believe in. Naturally, since I started to study law, I thought it would be a great addition for my oratory skills to engage in debates. And I also find it fascinating to argue and try to convince that your point of view is better and push your narrative or your point of view. I have also debated before because before I came to Brighton, I did a degree in Bristol for political science and the German language. And there I went to debate at the debate union there. I went to some competitions there, and I'm trying to say that my passion extends well before law. I've always liked to debate.
Thank you. Same question to your colleagues. What does it mean for you to present Brighton?
Well, as representing Brighton, I mean, it's a great honour. You know, only three of us out of our entire cohort who had to compete with the undergraduate students as well. So, being three people that have never studied law before, to doing the law conversion and being able to represent a university in this international field, I mean, is a great honour. But I mean, like many of us here, the main reason we're all here is for quite a selfish reasons too, isn't it? To be able to network and to be able to put it onto our CV and to be able to show that we've done something like this. I mean, so that's one of the main reasons why I joined.
Thank you. You want to add something, Mr. Meyers? No?
Oh, sorry about that. Yes, I didn't know if you were waiting for me. Yeah, I joined this. I come from a theatre background, so I like the kind of presentation aspect of debating as well. Not only the content, but also how you build arguments, how to speak clearly, the way to structure things. I feel like there's definitely a formative aspect to it as well. which I very much enjoy. And also I love arguing. So it's a great way to do it in a structured manner. I think it promotes new thinking, different ideas, and all kinds of lovely stuff.
Thank you. Same question in Tilburg. Who wants to start? How was it the motivation to present Tilburg?
Well, I've been debating for a while, and then through ELSA, obviously, when I saw that there's like a combination between law and debate, I thought that was a pretty interesting concept. So that's why I decided to do it. And so far, it's been great.
Great. And your colleagues?
Yeah, I'll quickly add on to that. Well, the main reason I joined in the first place was because my teammates here convinced me also to join it. But I also have always been very interested in participating in debates and in MOOC core competitions as well, for example. So this is a great mix of basically debating and also law. And that's also kind of what motivated me to participate. Yeah, in our selection process, I think was also one of the questions. We had like a local round to select our team. That's how it worked. Yeah.
Okay, good to know. And Mr. Coutima?
Yeah, I guess I just agree with my teammates. I'm honored to be here. I did debating before, so I just thought this might be more objective, and the idea of making legal arguments something I guess really attractive other than normal logical arguments. So, yep, thank you.
Thank you. And as you know, it is only your first match. You will have a match against a team from New Zealand, a team from Canada as well, later in this group phase. Now, a bit more cultural aspect to help the networking as well. So let's say the team from Brighton is coming to Tilburg. What they should visit, they should see, they should know about your city from your point of view, of course, as a student. So yeah, what could you tell to let's say tease them about your city and your university?
I think the first thing that I would say would be to go to another city.
I agree.
But it's more of a joke because in Tilburg there's not really much to do or to see. You have the university, and it's a very student-led city basically. So the city itself, there's not much to do there. There's a lot of like bars and stuff. So the nightlife isn't bad, but I think the main thing is you're close by to bigger cities like Rotterdam or Eindhoven, which are nicer to see.
Yes, and same question. You want to tell from Brighton?
Well, I'm very sorry to hear that, but the same cannot be said for Brighton. I mean, the city itself is very vibrant and a very diverse city. We've got some very, very nice bars. So if you guys ever did come over, we could be able to go to the world-renowned British Wetherspoons maybe. And then we can always go to Club Revenge maybe. That's always fun on a Tuesday night.
Mr. Badika, you want to add or you have a question?
I would like to add something, and I have a question as well. So I would like to say that, in my opinion, for Brighton, you should definitely visit the theater. It has some very good shows there, spectacles, especially if you like art, stuff like that. I would also like to recommend the pier. It has some amazing views, and if you like to take photos, we have one of the most beautiful sunsets. Now I'd like to extend the questions to the opposition from Tilburg. Do you have, for example, like a theater hall or an opera hall? One could go visit to see some spectacles, some shows, or something similar.
In Tilburg? Do we? I don't think we do really.
We have like small theaters that you can visit, but if you want to visit an actual like concert hall, you'd have to go to a city outside of Tilburg because there are like small concerts here, but not much more.
Yeah, don't come to Tilburg to go to a concert.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, if you live here, might as well go, but if it's not like, it should not be a target of your travels.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. And we want
Thank you so much.
And we want to tell you as well that you can keep contact after this match. This competition is a good reason for networking as well for all the teams around the world. And there will be a networking session as well after the group phase. So each time you meet a team, I think if you want to connect on LinkedIn or later, because you never know in your career if you need a collaborator maybe in different jurisdictions. So it's good through the competition as well to know that you have already met someone from those countries as well. So yes, many thanks for this match. Congratulations. That was your first round in the competition. In 2 weeks, you will have, of course, another match against another university around the world. And the topic will be sent 1 week before by mail. And in the meanwhile, we'll send you the score sheets from the 3 judges that we send greetings as well, because they are finishing to watch, I guess, the video as well. So yeah, during the next day, you will receive the score sheets by email and the score and the result, of course, of this match. So many thanks to everybody as well watching on YouTube, and see you soon for the next match. So many thanks, all of you. Bye-bye.
Well done, goodbye.
Well done, bye-bye.
Thank you. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.